One thing I'd like to talk about, I haven't done, I've been meaning to do it, and then I ended up being out of town when it happened. But I've done 141 flights with the drone, the DJI Spark, and there are a few things that I've learned, a few things that I've messed up, and I'm thinking of this right now because I need to do a firmware update on the drone. Now, one thing I've noticed with the drone, and the software just flat out tells you, the Bluetooth does not play well with this at all. If you have a Bluetooth thing like an Apple Watch, I always have to turn Bluetooth off on my phone and leave my Apple Watch inside. I've had way better luck because sometimes I'll forget and then I'll just stuff it in my pocket or put it in my bag, my drone bag, and I've just had not had as much luck. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but no Bluetooth. And the ideally I'd like to have it just wired and not have a problem, not have any not have to rely on wireless, because for some reason the wireless gets a little wonky every now and again. Maybe that's just me. When I go through the steps of booting and preparing for flight, it takes a little while. Let's go through that process. I boot the drone, and I usually boot it and then put it on the ground. By the time I put it on the ground and touch the remote control, that's 5 to 10 seconds. I turn on the controller. They take about 15 to 30 seconds to find each other. Then I turn the wireless from my phone and point it towards the remote control. Then once those are connected, then I can open the app and then I see where I'm at. I found that when I'm in a parking lot, depending on the parking lot, and especially if there's a lot of metal, because concrete has rebar in it, which is steel bars. Those steel bars, maybe it's the concrete, maybe it's the steel bars, maybe it's a little bit of both, maybe it's the location. I've had it in open spaces, and it'll still take sometimes 2 minutes to GPS fully, so that way I can take off and go all the way up. Because if you take off without GPS, if you don't turn off if you just if you do the I'm just gonna fly and see what happens mode, which I almost never do because I'm always afraid it's gonna fly away or something, it'll only go up to about 10 feet when it's not non-GPS mode. Once it's GPS mode, that you can go up to the full 392 feet. Now, I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's something I'm doing. I have launched off of grass and I've had way more success with it being GPS and just going. Whereas if I'm on concrete, it doesn't work as well. The first time, now I have 3 batteries, so if I'm flying multiple sessions in the same time, I'll land, change battery, and then the second time it knows, hey, I'm in the same spot. GPS kicks in quicker. Maybe that's just me. I'm just talking about flight experiences here. I don't have any, I'm not an expert. I've literally, the first time I flew this drone was the first time I ever flown a drone. So now I'm only 141 times in, and I'm just thinking about what my experiences are and what to look for and how to get the most out of the experience, because this is a small drone. Ideally it's about 15 minutes of time of power, but realistically it's around 10, because you have to have takeoff, and if it takes you 6 minutes to do whatever you want to do, it's going to take 6 minutes to get back here to your home spot. Or if you go up, it takes about a minute depending on the wind for it to get to its top altitude, which is about 392 feet. It's 400, but it keeps you a few feet just in case there's a lot of wind. I flew yesterday, and it was incredibly windy. I didn't realize how windy it was till I got there, and actually you'll see the video kind of wave because it's so windy. When it gets to be like that, I usually just turn around and land, because you're gonna burn most of your battery with it just trying to keep in the same spot. When is it not windy in Houston? Not really ever. During the middle of the day, when I guess would be fine for certain situations, but usually in the evening, in the morning, it starts getting windy with the heat of the day starting, the changes in pressure and things of that nature. I have not crashed it, really. I mean, I've gotten close, but with the way the software and everything's set up, you would have to really try and just like turn off all the sensors and just race towards a wall, basically, right? I've not, I've had it go way out of range. I've had it about 700 feet away from me in distance and about 300 feet up. So you get a really nice view in. It's not fast. This is a small drone. It goes 3 to 4 miles an hour. I put it in sport mode, but sport mode, it gives you a first person and it doesn't have the gimbal. So whenever you're moving around, it's not a clear shot anymore. But it does go fast. I've gotten it up to 36 miles an hour, which is really impressive to see it zoom by, but I mean, that's about it. I'm not racing them or anything. I'm using them for YouTube videos 99% of the time, or YouTube or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. The whole setup and the way it works is pretty straightforward. Like I said, you have to really work at it to crash it. You can crash it, but you have to really work at it. I've flown it in places where it doesn't want to work. I've flown it in places where it'll kind of get to where you want it to go and then freak out. And I've had it completely disconnect that happened yesterday. That's why I ended up landing. I was around 380 feet and it just disconnected. And sometimes it'll reconnect, sometimes it won't. Last night it did not for almost a minute. It usually will fail out and then just automatically start returning back to home within about 45 seconds to a minute of not reconnecting. It's a lot of fun flying the drone. You get really cool shots, and this is like a 1080p. This is a small sensor with a small camera, and you still get a really cool shot. It's just a matter of maneuvering and getting more familiar with controls. I haven't played video games in years, but this is just a video game. I mean, that's the way you approach it. You have your screen on your phone, and having this, like I said, the one complaint, I wish this would be wired. I wish I could just wire it straight. There are options to wire it. I got it to work, but after I need to do the latest firmware update, but the last firmware update, for me, I can't get it to work anymore with the wire. I tried putting it in airplane mode. I tried trying 2 or 3 different things. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's something maybe it's just a better way to do it. But the wired would be really awesome. The next drone up does that. That way you don't have to worry about wireless and just the signals just straight through. Other than that, I mean, I have not had many problems. I wish the battery were longer. I realized that perhaps it would be better. A bigger drone would be nice. A bigger is always nicer with a bigger sensor or whatever. I'll work my way up to that eventually. I'm not really worried about it right now. I think the idea of using the drone and trying it to use it to establish shots and to make it so everything will work right, and to get first and foremost, get the shot, get the picture, get the thing for YouTube or Instagram, so that way it'll move your video forward and it'll be interesting and all that stuff, and it'll look cool, and you can do the whole Casey Neistat flying over thing like everybody wants to, right? This drone is super nice, super robust. I mean, I would have to purposely try to crash it. I want to do the firmware update now, and then I'll see if I think anything else, and I'll put some drone video in this because it's fun to fly it. That's the bottom line. It's very fun. It's a very cool camera tool for taking video and pictures. The pictures actually come out really nice. You can take the pictures from the app and straight to your phone, but that's a lower res. If you want the good res, you have to get off the camera, off the card and stick it in your computer and put it in Lightroom or things. This only shoots JPEG too, which I can get by with it definitely, but I wish it were raw. I wish I could get my wish I could get my M6 and stick it on the bottom of the. I'm not that crazy. I've thought about it, but maybe I could stick a GoPro. But then I don't want it to be wobbly. Anything that's odd on it, it will. I've had it turn about 15 degrees almost because it was so windy one day, and it just told me, hey, you better land now. Find a landing spot and land now. I've had that happen twice. So as long as you follow the rules and you make sure that nobody else is around and there's not a lot of trees, or if you know that there are trees, know that you can have to stay a certain distance away. You have to really just work at it to crash it and really work at it to screw it up. I've gotten a bunch of great pictures from this, a bunch of great video, and I see myself I try to use it at least twice a week. I end up using it 4 or 5 times a week, depending on what the day is. If there's a really cool sunset or a sunrise, I know it's gonna happen. I try to be there with the drone. So that was 141 flights, and let's go ahead and go into 142.